Good evening everyone, this is Dr. Anand here. In my previous video, I spoke in detail about the laptop price and specification data which has been found in Kaggle, and this is a very new data set which has been updated only 22 days ago. And very much in my previous video, I spoke on how this particular data set can be relooked from the HR perspective. And to explain that, I took you through an abstraction activity using Kaggle dataset, which has been further used in multiple perspective using the mind mapping tool. So in this mind mapping tool, I did mention the 5 important functions related to human resource management department, which includes IT asset management, employee onboarding, workforce productivity, procurement planning, and attrition and replacement planning. I have also taken this particular data set into my KNIME platform. So after uploading the data set, I have executed the same to showcase the output. So as you can see, there are 920 rows and 12 columns. So total records is the details related to 920 respondents who have purchased different types of laptops, and this entire data has been iterated under 12 different columns, which is nothing but the column index or the factors. So the column includes model, price, ratings, generations, core, RAM, SSD, display, graphics, OS, and warranty. Let me give you a little more specifications on these column items. Model, the very first one. Here it talks about the full model names, that is the brand and the variant. Second is price, that is the selling price which has been expressed in INR. However, this has to be cleansed and to be converted into text. Then we have rating, that is consumer rating scale, and up to 100 but not 5. So we should assume that the customers have rated a specific laptop out of 100. Then we have generation, which is nothing but the CPU generation. Let me give you examples like the 11th generation Intel Core i3, likewise. Then we have data related to the RAM and SSD, which is nothing but the system memory and solid state drive. Then we have details pertaining to display. So in display, it talks about the screen size and resolution. So that is why the data is very much in inches. Then there is data related to graphics, which is the GPU details, integrated and dedicated. And then we have details with regard to OS, that is operating system. Mostly you can see that it belongs to Windows 11. And finally, we have details with regard to warranty, that is manufacturer's warranty period. So these are all the details with regard to this particular data set. So before getting into the analytics part, it becomes very important to cleanse the data, right? So why should we clean the data and what type of cleaning is required? Let me explain the same to you using a very simple Word document. So I have opened a Word document where I'm going to create 5 columns here. So let it be on the wider side. So first let's have features. Second, let us have value points. Third, let us have meaning. Fourth, let us have description. And finally, let us have a separate column on why it is important. Right? So these are all the important features for data cleaning before getting into the data cleaning. So first one, it starts with model. So if you look into the value point related to the data related to model, usually it is string. So what is the meaning here? We have to extract structured information from text. Structured info from text, because model which specifies the brand is very much from the text perspective. It is more qualitative in nature, it is not quantitative in nature. So we have to extract some structured information from the text. So if you look into this particular data sheet under model, you can see different varieties of model: HP, Techno, Lenovo, Samsung, Apple, Zebronics. So likewise, there are a lot of text-based details. So how do we extract information from this particular text? So that is why I had mentioned extracting structured information from text. So what is a description? This particular data related to model contains details related to brand, series, and variant in one text field. So why am I talking about variant in one text field? So it has two different information. It has quantitative and also qualitative, right? It talks about the model number, which is more quantitative. It talks about the brand name, which is more qualitative. So why this particular field is very important? Because it will help us in grouping. Enable in grouping, where you can do a brand cluster analysis, and also you can perform NLP use. So I hope you got the details on how all the specifications or features related to model can be further used for the analysis purpose. Second, let's talk about price. So let me tell you about price. Before that, let's look into it. So these are all the different information related to price of the laptop. So what is the value point here? Text to numeric conversion. Text to numeric conversion. So why am I talking about text to numeric conversion? Because if you look into this particular data related to price, it has a lot of symbols, right? It has a rupee symbol which has been expressed from the Indian context. So you cannot take this data directly for any analytics. It might show a lot of error. So any data scientist who is dealing with this particular data set should first remove all these symbols and convert into float. Float is nothing but something which is very much plain, something which is very much into the text to numeric conversion, which can be further used for performing multiple analysis. And what is the description? Removing a rupee symbol, commas for numeric use only. So it is very much understood that rupee symbol and commas has to be further removed. And what type of analysis can be performed here, or why is it so important? Essential statistics. That is the very first one. Then price-based modeling. That also can be done. Visualizations. So these are all the features related to price and how the data has to be cleaned further. Let me also tell you one more detail with regard to price, because I personally felt that price is one of the predominant variable related to laptop purchase, because any consumer, though they give importance to brand or other types of cognitive factors and emotional factors, the first important factor which creates an impact on purchase is price. So can price be considered to be a dependent variable? So why am I talking about price to be a dependent variable? Because a predict target output using other factors, right? It can predict output using other factors. So other factors can be considered to be independent variable. So what is the description here? We can use regression models to predict price from features. And why do you think this is so important? As I told you before in the mind mapping, it helps in HR procurement. So as I told you, every organization has a hierarchy: top level, middle level, and the junior level. So top level employees or senior executives would be using or would be given laptops which belongs to a better brand or a costly version. And one more important aspect is that every year organizations are facing multiple attrition because of resignation or change in job internally, or it can also be because of employee layoff. So it becomes very important for the HR department to predict and then to allocate the resources. So price plays a very important role here. So that is why it can be considered to be a dependent variable. It is just a perspective from my side, but however, it depends on the data scientist, individual data scientist, whoever is going to perform the analysis. The next important variable here is rating. So what is the value point related to rating? We have to handle missing values. So as you can look into the data set, all the details related to rating, it has a lot of missing values and it addresses a lot of incomplete data. And what type of descriptions can be given here. So ratings we can perform, or we can use mean, median, or even we can look into predictive filling or predictive modeling. But unfortunately, why do you think this data related to rating has to be cleansed? See, rating and reviews play a predominant role in stimulating the other customers to involve in purchase. So they look into the rating, right? So incomplete data will provide a lot of discomfort for the model output. So it is like garbage in and garbage out. So that is why the data related to rating, see, you can see there is a missing value. There are a lot of missing values here. So rating has to be cleansed properly because it is one of the most important variable. However, let me also tell you that rating can also be understood in a very different way. So it has a direct correlation with the type of brand, right? So what is the meaning? Rating has a relationship between satisfaction and laptop features. So this model which talks about the features, this rating has a huge impact. So both the variables can be correlated to check. So what are all the description? Maybe checking RAM or SSD, GPU, how it affects rating, right? So that is how we have to look into. And why do you think it is so important? So this helps to identify performance factors behind satisfaction. Just imagine an organization is having three predominant departments like digital marketing, enterprise resource planning, and an advertisement department. And these departments where employees are working, of course, they have to depend on laptops, which has the ability to perform much quicker, much faster. And if you are providing them with laptops which does not perform well, then obviously the performance of these employees would get affected, right? And it would result in a rating. So that is why do you think rating is so important? A lot of correlations can be drawn between rating, features, of course the price also. So more than the price, I would tell that a rating plays an important role because it is a very important data which stems from the experience of the person who has used that particular laptop. And then we do have core, RAM, and SSD, right? So first let me start with core. So you can look into the data related to core here. So here, what do we mean by core? The number of cores, the threads, and the processor type, right? So that is what is core. I'll give you an example. So 14 crores and it has some specifications here. So how do we look into this particular data? Core. So first we have to split core and thread. So why do we have to split this core and thread? Please look into the raw data. You can see it is combined together, that is core and the thread. So when the core and thread has been combined, you cannot perform any analysis. So that is why you have to split this core details from thread. After that, what should you do? You have to extract individual CPU details. Maybe a separate column has to be used, and then you have to do it. And what is the description here? Use pattern matching to parse number of cores and types. So this, using this pattern matching, you can split this particular combined data into two different categories. So a separate column has to be used, and based on the pattern matching, you have to split the data so that it gives you some meaningful information for further analysis. And why do you think this is so important? It is very much crucial for performance matching. Example, let me tell you, developers, graphic designers working in digital marketing department, they might use a laptop which has a better core, right? You got my point? So this would help us to check whether the performance has increased because of this core. Then we have details with regard to RAM. So let me show you the data. You can see the details related to RAM here, which is nothing but the storage. So what should we do? We should convert this into numeric. So it is in text format. It has to be converted into numeric. So I'll tell you how it works. I'll give you an example. From 16 GB DDR4 RAM just to 16, right? You got this? So this is combined together. So this has to be converted into a numeric value so that further analysis can be performed. So what is the description which I am giving here? Remove the text and convert RAM into numbers for further analysis. So why should we do this? So it enables for filtering, second for sorting, and also for clustering. Clustering analysis can be performed, but before performing the clustering analysis, it is very much important to convert all this combined data separately from text and numbers. So that is why RAM is very important. The same way for SSD also, which is nothing but the standardized storage details, right? So SSD, it is just like RAM. Again, you have to convert this SSD details into numeric values. Okay, the next one, display. I'll show you the data with regard to display. Yes, you can look into the display details. It talks about the windows, the inches, right? So, what is this detail? It talks about the extract screen size. Extract details related to screen size of the laptop. Gaming laptops, I think you would be knowing that the screen size is quite big. Even in the accounts department or any finance department or any laboratories, the size of the screen might be quite big. So how do we look into the meaning perspective? Get size and resolution from the text separately. So if you look into this particular raw data, it has the size and resolution together, but it has to be split. So how do we split? Derive display inches and pixel resolution separately. You got my point? So why this is so important? It helps to match screen size to department use. So as I told you before, any departments like an enterprise resource planning or a graphic designing department, advertisement department, or a digital marketing department, they would really require laptops with a better screen size. So this display plays a very important role. So likewise, we have details with regard to graphics and OS also. The final one, we have warranty. Let me showcase warranty to you first. So the final one is warranty. You can see 1 year warranty, 2 year warranty, 3 year warranty. Likewise, they have given the data. So it has to be converted into years only, right? So that year has to be removed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, likewise it has to be mentioned. So just mention the numeric values. So what is the description here? To turn text info into numbers. And why do you think this is so important? To track the warranty coverage. So maybe an expiry alert. So such type of analysis can be performed. So why did I talk so much with regard to all these 12 data field? The reason is because there are several reasons. Let me showcase those reasons one by one to you. See, the very first one, data cleansing becomes very crucial before any type of analysis to be performed in KNIME. So dirty and inconsistent data will lead to a very poor model prediction and flawed insights. I'll give you an example. So if the price column includes symbols and commas, then regression model in KNIME will fail or it will give you misleading results, right? So to ensure that whatever model based analysis is having accurate output, we have to clean the data. So why data cleaning is important. First one, to improve model accuracy in KNIME, and I've given you an example. Second one, see many KNIME nodes, let it be a numeric node, let it be a binary node, let it be a linear regression node, it throws a lot of errors when columns have wrong data. I'll give you an example. So text values in RAM like 16 GB DDR4, it must be converted into numbers, otherwise KNIME's numerical nodes will not process them. See, the name of the node itself is called a numeric node. So how do you give an input with regard to the text? So to prevent from data workflow errors, the data has to be cleansed. The third one, charts and histograms becomes very important when values are good. If the values are not good, or if the values are very much inconsistent or misclassified, then it will not give you a very good visualization. Let me give you an example. Maybe a bar chart of warranty may incorrectly show the backlit keyboard as a warranty period, of course, which is a data entry error. So warranty period should showcase only the numeric values, right? If it is talking about the backlit keyboard, why am I talking about the backlit keyboard? Because you can see in this data, the very first four, it has some different information related to backlit keyboard. So how do you think this is even related to warranty? So in such a case, then you cannot perform proper visualization. So that backlit keyboard information has to be removed first. So this will improve proper visualization. Then you can't group, or you can't bin, or you can't segment the data meaningfully if the data has not been properly cleansed. Let me give you an example. To group laptop by RAM size or values like 8GB DDR4 or 8GB or LP DDR4, so the data has to be properly cleaned into a very consistent data, say for example like 8GB, which is very much in a numeric format. So this data has to be properly split, cleansed, and then only it has to be used. So this will really enable in grouping, where you can perform better cluster analysis. So the data what we found in Kaggle looks very much attractive. I don't mean to tell that the data looks very bad, but if you look into this data, it has all been jumbled, it looks little clumsy. So before performing HR analytics, this data has to be cleansed. So that is why, apart from the missing value, there are a lot of things what has to be done. So from the analytics perspective, introspect each and every column, look into each and every row, see what type of conversions has to be done, why it has to be done, and why is it so important to be done. Because if this is not taken care, then proper analysis cannot be performed. So that is why before getting into any type of analytics, we have to see the features, value points, meaning, description, and also mention why this particular data set is so important, right? So in simple, this cleaning the data will help you to improve the model accuracy, to prevent data from workflow error, improve proper visualization, and also help you in performing multiple analysis. So in the next video, I'll be talking in detail on what type of analytics can be performed with this particular data set using KNIME.